G'day, Pickleball family. First thing to know as I share my screen here with you, as anticipated, a truce has been called in the Pickleball 2 Awards with, as reported on the dinkpickleball.com and elsewhere, that the PPA Tour and Major League Pickleball have announced a merger, a ceasefire. Let's have a look at the full press release as reported here by the Dink Pickleball as we read through it. Carvana PPA Tour and Major League Pickleball announced full merger to form a unified professional pickleball organisation. The merger of two largest pro pickleball organisations is backed by a $50 million investment led by private equity firm SC Holdings and financier MLP team owner Al Tylis, along with PPA Tour owner Tom Dundon and various MLP Tour owners. Today, leading professional pickleball organisations MLP and PPA announced an agreement to merge under a unified and definitive professional pickleball holding company. The consolidation of the two entities is backed by a $50 million investment from SC Holdings, DC Pickleball team owner Al Tylis, PPA Tour owner Tom Dundon, and a roster of existing MLP team owners. The new combined organisation will provide players, fans and sponsors with the benefits of a streamlined schedule and single entity overseeing the two still distinct brands. The merger combines the leading individual and team-based professional pickleball formats into a single parent company, equally supporting and promoting both MLP and the PPA Tour. The new holding company will provide players and sponsors great confidence and opportunity in the future of professional pickleball. The PPA Tour is the traditional bracket style tour format that determines the best players in the world and showcases individual athletes and their unique journeys to reach the top. MLP is the innovative team-based co-ed league format that brings thrilling fan-centric experiences and competition throughout the regular season and championships. As professional pickleball continues to rapidly grow, we could not be more excited to provide both players and fans with the clarity and consistency of a unified professional pickleball organisation, said Major League Pickleball founder Steve Kuhn. This merger will expand and improve opportunities for current and future players, creating a united experience and better future playing professional pickleball. Over the past few years, we have seen ever-increasing interest from investors, sponsors, fans and players who understand the immense value in the future of professional pickleball, said PPA Tour owner Tom Dundon. The holding company unifying the PPA Tour and MLP will create a streamlined sport for fans and add more meaningful opportunities for player competition, broadcasting rights and sponsorship throughout the professional pickleball calendar. Professional pickleball fans will now be able to watch both exciting formats and the best players in the sport competing under one competitive umbrella, with the new unified organisation boasting over 150 of the leading professional pickleball players and an extensive calendar of team and individual events throughout the year. The parent company's board of directors and team owners include an impressive roster of business leaders, leading investors and professional athletes. The new board of directors will include Jason Stein from SC Holdings, Al Tylis, PPA Tour owner Tom Dundon, MLP founder Steve Kuhn, and former Goldman Sachs partner Brian Levine. From what we hear, not everyone is happy. Moving on to the Dink's assessment of the situation. In fact, most people involved feel like they got a raw deal, but most also believe this was the right play given the circumstances. One unified organisation. We'll see how long that lasts. We'll have more for you soon. More details will emerge as the dust settles, and boy, are they interesting. Staying on the theme of the truce, the MLP PPA merger announced. Moving over to nmlpickleball.com now with an opinion piece. Let's look at their article as big questions remain for the future of pro pickleball. And the article goes on, are we in the twilight zone? It feels like yesterday the PPA and MLP were merging following the initial creation of the Vibe Pickleball League, and it probably feels like that because it was less than a year ago. After a merger that never got finalised, the players were once again involved in a signing frenzy that was amped up significantly. With the recognition by the dueling entities that a prolonged fight for supremacy would be unsustainable, on Thursday morning, the PPA and MLP announced a full merger to form a unified professional pickleball organisation. The NML pickleball piece goes on to state the press release was rather bare bones on the details. As we know from last year, a merger sounds great in theory, but the devil is in the details. With MLP having a significant leg up on the PPA following the most recent signing frenzy, conventional wisdom would have had us believe that the MLP would be able to dictate any negotiations with the PPA. Although the press release includes limited details, our understanding of the situation is that the merger terms are far more equal than we would have expected considering the circumstances. Rob Nunnery and Adam Stone referred to the merger as equal on their recent It Feels Right podcast episode. The merger leaves a bunch of big questions that both fans and even players are left wanting answers about. According to the press release, a new holding company will be created that merges the two entities under one roof. The new holding company will receive a $50 million cash investment, as those parties investing the new money will receive additional equity. From our read of the press release, it looks like most of that $50 million is coming from Tom Dundon, owner of the PPA, Jason Stein, SC Holdings and New York Hustlers MLP team, and Al Tylis, the DC Pickleball MLP team. While the new parent company will support both entities, MLP and the PPA will continue operating as two still distinct brands for the time being. The press release also notes that both formats, the individual tour style on the PPA and team format with MLP, will continue under this singular competitive umbrella. This all sounds great in principle. Two worlds, one family, no division of players between the tours, and all the best players competing against one another. That's objectively good for the sport of pro pickleball. However, with all that has happened in the past 2 to 3 weeks, there were a host of competing interests that had to be balanced as part of this merger. The Dink reported this morning that not everyone is happy with this merger. And we have also heard that a lot of people are far from satisfied. The biggest question for players has been whether their contracts will be honoured, whether they signed with the MLP or PPA. The short answer sounds like yes. This poses a huge problem from MLP standpoint, as a large group of players chose to sign with MLP for substantially less money because they trusted in MLP. The PPA started offering insane amounts of money to players because that is what they needed to do to stay relevant in the tour wars. We're talking about low six figures for virtual to $500,000 for players with limited resumes or who are virtually unknown. For example, Adam Stone and Rob Nunnery reported $500,000 for Quang Dong. If those inflated PPA contracts are really going to be paid out to the players, it stands to potentially crush the goodwill MLP created with players. Why does that matter? This round of the Tour Wars negotiation demonstrated how important goodwill can be. In tough times, it pushed MLP ahead of the PPA. Although the two most important entities in pickleball are finally unified, the possible diminishing of goodwill could make this new entity vulnerable to future competitors. With so much money being poured into pickleball, there is an expectation that someone is going to come along and create a future startup league as a competing entity. That could be the APP, but more likely it will be someone that we haven't heard of yet. This is not simply about the PPA and MLP, as this new combined entity has to factor in what may happen in the future from outside competition. These inflated PPA contracts have thrown the market even further out of whack than they already are, which is going to make it harder to sign and retain players down the road. There have been rumours bubbling about a player boycott of MLP, which was noted by Rob Nunnery and Adam Stone, and something we have heard separately. The boycott would be from the early signed MLP players if the outsized PPA contracts are honoured. We have heard about boycotts in the past that haven't come to fruition, but there are many more dollars on the line here. One line of thinking is that players should be grateful that they're going to be receiving way more money than they could have dreamed of a year ago. This is undoubtedly true for a sport that has such limited viewership. An excellent opinion piece, and I highly suggest you go and read the rest of it at nmlpickleball.com. Third thing to know, and if you're finding this helpful, please be sure to dink that like button. As reported in pickleballunion.com, celebrity matches and clinics, just a part of National Mall Pickleball celebrations. For this inaugural occasion, pickleball courts will be set up on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. for a 3-day program featuring a range of on and off-court activities. Regardless of your proficiency in the sport, there will be offerings suitable for all skill levels and age groups. Participation is complimentary. All that's required is your footwear and pickleball kit. Paddles and balls will be provided, although if you have your own, feel free to bring them. You have the option to reserve a spot for yourself and a partner, or simply arrive and be included in the walk-on rotation. The National Mall of Pickleball will be bringing with events. The events will feature matches involving notable figures, plus a recreational league tournament, pickleball instructional sessions, culinary demonstrations, and even a showcase of the DC Pickleball MLP team. There will be special programming dedicated to honouring the trailblazers of the sport who are reshaping the concept of leading a healthy lifestyle. 9 pickleball courts will be available for gameplay at the JFK hockey fields from Thursday, September 28 through Saturday, September 30. Players can reserve a complimentary slot on the courts or enroll in a pickleball clinic starting on Thursday, September 14 at 11 a.m. Participants register in pairs and matchups will be arranged on site. For those who don't secure a slot in advance, a designated court will be available for walk-ons. All players will be provided with paddles and balls, whether you're new to the sport or seeking to refine your skills. Experienced members of the MLP DC Pickleball team will conduct lessons tailored for beginners, intermediate, and advanced players. During the periods when the courts aren't in use for free play or clinics, spectators can enjoy watching a series of pickleball matches. Comedian Rob Riggle will serve as the MC for a celebrity contest featuring notable participants such as Wizards player Corey Kispert. Additionally, journalist Katie Couric will take part in a match alongside a group of senior athletes. Attendees can also witness a pickleball showdown between DC newsrooms featuring teams from the Washington Post and NPR. Fourth thing to know, as also reported on the Pickleball Union, Middletown, Connecticut is in line to get a 20-court super facility. The 3 Connecticut towns of Cromwell, West Hartford, and Glastonbury have recently made additions to their pickleball court offerings. However, a 4th town, Middletown, may be about to receive a pickleball facility that outshines them all. The proposal for the substantial privately operated complex features a combination of indoor and outdoor courts. The city of Middletown, not to be confused with Middletown, Ohio, has released a promotional flyer entitled Pickleball Park, Connecticut, describing a 20-court dedicated pickleball rec facility with 12 indoor courts, a clubhouse with a social area, event space, daycare, and locker rooms. The development will also feature 8 more courts sheltered under a translucent fabric roof, allowing for rain-free play outdoors, with temperatures 15 degrees cooler than unsheltered outdoor courts exposed to sweltering summer conditions. Moreover, the courts will be fully enclosed for winter play, maintained at a nominal temperature of 60 degrees. The Hartford Courant reports that Middletown-based Tall Properties is applying for the zoning permit for the project, with the Town Planning and Zoning Commission to review at a hearing this week. The proposed project comprises a building spanning approximately 42,000 square feet, along with an additional 18,000 square feet of space that would have a roof but remain unenclosed. This summer, a 28-court pickleball facility was inaugurated at the Stanford Town Centre in Fairfield County, marking one of the few indoor centres in Connecticut. Most municipally managed facilities offer outdoor courts catering primarily to town residents. Glastonbury, for example, unveiled 4 pickleball courts in July at the Riverfront Community Centre, with plans for a dedication ceremony featuring state representatives and other speakers scheduled for September 19. Similarly, communities like West Hartford, Cromwell, Southington, and South Windsor are among the numerous others that have either constructed new outdoor courts or repurposed existing tennis courts for this new purpose. According to Pickleheads, an organisation that maintains a nationwide directory of pickleball courts, 138 public free-to-use courts are spread across about 65 towns and cities in Connecticut. This figure excludes private pay-to-play facilities like the one at Stamford Mall. It also fails to take into account another private indoor project proposed by the company that transformed the former Marriott Hotel in Farmington into apartments. Tall Properties asserts that having 20 courts at the Middletown facility will establish it as a significant landmark. The company stated it will enable the hosting of the Pickleball Masters and the Nutmeg tournaments, which require 20 courts. The extraordinary growth of pickleball has challenged communities to meet the demand for more and more courts. Pickleheads reports that there are now public courts in all 50 states, along with Puerto Rico, the US Virgin Islands, and Washington, D.C. In addition to the 138 courts in Connecticut, New England offers 42 in Rhode Island, 94 in Vermont, 349 in Massachusetts, 142 in Maine, and 87 in New Hampshire. Paddles up!